Hello, I'm Dr. Thompson, Akwo, Ntuba, international political leader, physician, communicator, certified professional expert in global health USA, sub-specialist of health communication or Medcom. Updates on UNGA 76. We have heard, we have followed, we have listened to a whole week of speeches from representatives of nations that are members of the United Nations system. The General Assembly is the specialized body of the UN system. That is the policy-making body of the United Nations system. Every year in September, the representatives of the countries, of the people of the different countries, that's why they talk about we the people of the United Nations. Because everybody who is a member of a country who pays taxes is represented in the United Nations through their country, through their taxes, through the dues that their taxes are used to pay for their country and for them in the United Nations. The General Assembly, or United Nations General Assembly, what is called UNGA, is ongoing. But the General Debate Week came to an end after a whole week of head of states, head of governments, ministers of states, ministers of governments representing their people and their country, making their own contributions to issues related to the theme of the year. And basically, there is the president of the assembly who is selected before the assembly begins properly in New York. This year, because of COVID, about 80% or so of the representatives of governments of countries came in person to present their country's speeches and positions and contributions, while about 20% made recorded visual presentations. Cameroon is one of the last countries, if not the last, that spoke. There are reasons why that happened. You could decide to go to the back of the line. Maybe you wanted to come, and visa issues. Remember that people still need visas. People still need immigration clearance to come to the United States. They are representatives of nations that the American government refuses to give visas, and they would like to come and make their presentations on which the United States government thinks is propaganda, and just stops them of different reasons why they can't come, because they don't meet the criteria. Overall, the discussions and issues were centered around COVID-19 and how nations should leverage their collective resources to make sure that they recover and build back better, according to President Joe Biden of the United States of the America. So, it is very disheartening to know that today we are still talking about nations testing nuclear weapons, threatening other nations, North Korea was at the UN talking about the United States needing to stop doing military exercises or joint military exercises with its partner nation of South Korea. North Korea seemed to be building its weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons and testing them and provoking other nations. But the US is a platform for that to happen. It was also noted that Myanmar and Afghanistan were refused credentials, so they didn't address the august body. But Cameroon was very, very particular, because in Cameroon, which is a francophone Central African Republic, as people will put it, one of those small countries in Africa, though a big one within their regional francophone region, it has a president, Paul Biya of the Cameroons. He's been in government for almost 60 years and about 40 years as president. At close to 90 years of age, you know how, these degenerative changes take place and health issues here and there that are common with aging, which is okay. But that also complicates things, because I don't remember in the past 1 or 2 years or so when Cameroonians saw him, come to any part of Cameroon different from the capital in Yaoundé to be part of maybe a disaster, comforting the people like Joe Biden does in America, going to places where there are conflicts, to really appease the people and get them know that there's a president in the country. So you could call that an absentee president. Well, if the Cameroonian people decide that they don't mind that, that's fine. But again, there is a prime minister of government. So, if the president of the republic cannot represent the people of the Cameroons at Onga physically, one would expect that he would send the so-called head of government, in quote, to come represent the country and the people. But what happens? In the past 3 years or many years, there has been no president of Cameroon addressing the world body. And as people would have expected, the head of government, the prime minister, like other nations are doing, because other nations also have a prime minister who address. Boris Johnson is the prime minister of England, and the head of the monarchy is like the president, in quote. In Boris Johnson speaks for the UK, not the Queen. So if President Paul Biya is the king of the Cameroons, where is the prime minister, so-called head of government? Is it because he's an Anglophone? Why do we have to let Cameroon go through the embarrassment of constantly having an inferior junior minister to be speaking for Cameroon because he's Francophone? That makes no sense. That's a humiliation of the United Nations. Because when presidents come together, they want to listen to their colleagues and fellow presidents. And if not, let it be a prime minister. And then there you are, a junior minister has been speaking for Cameroon this past couple of years. So you would have noticed that the United Nations also does not put the president of the assembly in front of that person. So it's a junior person who sits there and introduces. That's just a shame. It's just a shame. But notwithstanding, beating around the bush and talking about terrorism in Africa, in Cameroon, Boko Haram, and talking about the armed struggles in the English-speaking part of Cameroon in the southwest and the northwest. It was wrapping around and talking about how we House of Chiefs and blah, blah, blah. But But you know that the president still appoints the governors in these areas. He's been in government for so long. All these people around him have also been ministers for maybe 30 years and that. Those are things which don't happen in serious countries, in civilized countries. Those are things which make people to be angry, and they just lose all forms and manner of patriotism that they have for their country. Because if one person who is president for 22 years, and since they multiply, the number of years they can be, since the Amadou Aidjo, a Francophone, was president for, I think, 22 years, this one wants to make sure that he's president for at least 44 years. The next one will be president for 88 years. So when the next person comes, maybe it's his son, as some people think that he's trying to do. I don't know. That is left to Cameroonians. I am not living in Cameroon. I'm resident, or I live in the United States, though I cannot forget my country of origin. I am troubled by these happenings related to Cameroon. It's not only an embarrassment and humiliation for the Prime Minister, who is being, pushed by the side, while junior ministers of his, in quote, maybe those ones, they have a ministry, they have directorates in the different regions, they have portfolios, and I don't know. The whole governance structure and situation of Cameroon is sad. It requires some changes here and there. But that notwithstanding, I continue to say that there is no other way to humiliate a prime minister than taking a junior minister and sending to represent the country if the president cannot do it. When the prime minister is alive, not sick, very well, and there. The African Union has made it clear that subsequently that if you would not come as president, they don't want you sending any junior minister to come talk to them on behalf of any country. I don't know what the UN is waiting, because I thought the UN would have said, no, we don't want to listen to any junior minister. But well, if the Cameroon and Paul Biya snubs the prime minister, who is Anglophone, maybe that's the reason. They don't want them to shine while they fool themselves about rebuilding and restructuring. Now, it is hard to rebuild that which is being destroyed with every passing day. I do not subscribe to armed struggles. I do not subscribe to terrorism. But Paul Biya himself knows that I have been warning Cameroon for a long time, and I'm the author of the Stand on Anglophone problem. And the requirements and recommendations have not been put in place. We cannot be talking about decentralization and devolution of powers, and one person still appoints all the magistrates and judges of the country, and he can dismiss them anytime he so wants. That's not governance. That's not good governance. That's not modernized governance. One person appoints all the governors of all the regions or states, and he can dismiss them anytime he wants. That's not governance. That's nothing. And so most times when I talk to Cameroonians, they tell me these things. They are like, when I say, okay, but some of these things that they are saying they are doing is going to help bring peace. It is Cameroonians who tell me that no, they will not, because some of the basic things which go with democracy is not being done. So, I don't know. It's tricky, it's complex, but I do not subscribe to blood shedding. Oh yes, but they do things when the people go on the streets to protest, they send police, soldiers to kill them, and so they claim that they are fighting back. It's unfortunate how a people will be put to fight themselves. The police killing the people killing the police, the soldiers killing the people killing the police. That is wrong. That is bad leadership. That's bad governance. I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to a democratic Cameroon. That, as the president of Nigeria, Buhari, said in his speech in August 76, as he was bidding farewell to Angela Merkel, even though, you know, there's no term limit in the office of Prime Minister, Chancellor in Germany, right? Angela Merkel has been there for almost 16 years. That's also a very long time. The same thing with the office of Prime Minister in Britain. So I know that there are people who may want to point to some of those areas and say, but there are no term limits in those places, and those people cannot come lecture us about term limits. I beg of you. You've been in government for almost 60 years. You've been president for almost 40 years. Your son is playing and jumping from here and giving people the impression that you are trying to hand over the government to your son. You are creating a scenario where there may be bloodshed, and I don't like that. I don't want that. And the United Nations is aware of what's going on in Cameroon. You cannot rebuild without the people. And you cannot be fooling the world that the people, when they say that there is going to be a lockdown, the people respect that lockdown, which means that there are power people who are running those regions and states. You got to know that. That's the truth. You yourself have accepted before the French, Emmanuel Macron and all the others in France, that trying to assimilate the Anglophones into the Francophone system and culture has not worked, and it's not working. The least one expects is that you would have gone back to the drawing table and say, okay, what were the themes of the coming together, of the coming back together of the two people? What were the themes? If that is all the people are asking, what is so difficult for you? If you so love yourselves and you are one Cameroon and you are one people, what is wrong with the terms? What is wrong with the original terms of the reunion? Because those people are going to work for the same Cameroon that you are together as like Canada. So what is wrong with that? That's what I don't understand. Who is speaking to you? Who are you trying to please? Is it Cameroonians that you are scared of? Who are you scared of? Because we see these things happening at the United Nations. Those are bad signs, and the world is watching. You are coming to be the last. You are Cameroon. We see. We know where you fit in. How come that you are the last to speak? How come that you are talking all of these things about reconstruction? There is no reconstruction when there is disturbance. There is no reconstruction when there is arms going all over the place. So I am speaking to you, the authorities in the Cameroons. I am that Dr. Thompson. You all know me. I've been with you, worked with you. I've campaigned for President Paul Biya with my name on the paper from his Yaoundé, with Mukete and others, even though I fell out with them because I was not going to take some of the things they were saying and doing. But we can build back better. We can, if it is not working, let's accept that it's not working and go back to the drawing table. If we are one Cameroon and we love ourselves, let us do that which will bring peace. What we need in Cameroon is not those papers that we go read at the hunger. Anybody can do that. What we need in Cameroon is that which will create trust, that which will make the people feel like they belong, that which will lead to term limits of presidential candidates and others, so that others may be given a chance. The government of Cameroon can be nice. The United Nations wants peace and security, human rights and development that is sustainable. That's what I'm asking of you to do, Cameroon.